G'day everyone, my name is Vin and we are the Thomas Mulby Group. This semester we've been assigned the Bald Hills wind farm project. The project review committee consists of Daniel, Dhivyaa, Nishad, Temur and myself, Vin, the very last person. Our objective is to essentially look at the complaints, identify the issues that have been raised throughout the project delivery and look and formulate our own kind of views and solutions to meet those issues and hopefully come up with a more sustainable solution. I'll introduce Dhivyaa now as she introduces the background, location and context.
Good morning. My name is Dhivyaa and I'll talk about the background, location and major problems so Bald Hills Wind Farm is located 10 kilometers south to Lower. So that's the region where it's located. So it's in South Gippsland. And looking at the map, we can see that there are three regions where the wind farms are present. First, in the north, we've got 29 turbines. Region 2, where there are 5, and down south, we've got 18 turbines present. So before discussing the issues or problems related to these wind farms, we go through the major people involved. So let me talk about the key stakeholders involved for this project. So, and actually the person who owns is the Bald Hills Wind Farm Private Limited. So the applicant or owner fully would be the Mitsui & Co. Australia. Those are parent company, and they are involved in investment and development of natural resources, energy, and the infrastructure related project. So the principal contractor is Repo Australia, and of course the government is involved with this project. So the main involvement is from the state government. So, of course, the planning and community development. And due to the sustainability, we've got the Environmental Protection Authority and the Department of Sustainability Environment and Vic Roads, and also the local government. So, as already mentioned, it's the South Gippsland Tribe Council. So, the community plays a major role because we've got residents staying over there and we've got landowners, surrounding neighbors, local business people and the NGO community group, which is the Tarun Valley Coastal Group. So now let's look into the timeline, like the problems raised for this issue since 2004 till present. So the Bald Hills Wind Farm was everything commenced in 2004. So the planning permit was given in 2004. But in 2006, the Howard government Environment Minister Ian Campbell, he just halted about $220 million just thinking about the endangered species which might be killed due to the construction of the wind farm. But in 2009, Justin Madden, who was the planning minister, he issued a 20%, he approved a 20% increase for the height of the turbines from 110 to 135 meters. In 2010, the community, the Valley Coastal Guardians, as well as the planning minister, had a problem with the increase in height and they went to VCAT, the Victorian Civil and Administrative Tribunal. 2011 had major problems because the planning minister, as already mentioned, Matthew Guy, he amended the wind farm planning guidelines and included new noise guidelines for the wind farm. But in April 2011, the New South Wales government removed the powers of the planning minister, and they said the planning minister had nothing to do with the infrastructure of the wind turbines. But in May 2011, the owner, the Japan's Mitsui & Co., delved in the purchase agreement of the Bald Hills Wind Farm. Whereas in 2012, the work officially commenced. 2013, the tower and turbine installation commenced, and the work was to be finished by 2014, and the wind farm should have been in practice from 2014. I'll pass it over to Daniel to go about wind as a renewable energy and other.
Hello everyone, I'm Daniel and I'll be discussing wind energy as a form of renewable technology. Okay, so wind energy converts wind flows into electricity. The facilities are known as wind farms, which generate electricity for the national power grid. They normally consist of 3 rotor blades mounted on top of a large tower. This is an image of a horizontal axis turbine. As you can see, wind energy is captured as wind currents pass over the rotor blades and force their rotation. This in turn spins a shaft connecting the rotor hub to a generator, as you can see here. The generator converts the kinetic energy into electricity, and the energy can be either stored in batteries or transferred into the national power grid. Wind turbines can be typically found in elevated or open natural settings near the coastline. Southern Australia is often considered the optimal location for wind energy production in the country. And as you can see here in the southern areas of Australia is the roaring 40s, which can be a series of wind currents generating average wind speeds in excess of 8 metres per second, which is generally considered to be the optimal wind speed for wind turbine technology. And as you can see here, we have a graph demonstrating the various proportions of electricity generation in Australia's market. At the moment, wind power only consists of 3% of wind energy in Australia at the moment, but this is gradually increasing with the introduction of more and more wind turbine technology. Okay, now I'll introduce the next speaker.
Thank you, Daniel. My name is Temur, and I'll be introducing the issues raised due to the presence of the wind farm. There were three types of issues. We categorized them into three types: environmental, social, and economic. Moving towards the environmental issues, they were further categorized into three categories: natural, physical, and cultural. The natural addresses basically flora and fauna of the wind farm. Issues regarding the native vegetation were raised because there were concerns that the removal of the native vegetation could have been avoided. Here are some examples of the native vegetation. Regarding the ground fauna and bats, the issues raised were that it was destroying the habitat of the ground fauna and bats, as well as the birds. And regarding the birds and bats, some further issues were raised that they could have been stuck in the windmills. Moving on towards the physical environment, they were further categorized into three categories: geological, erosion, and water constraint issues. In geological, the issue was that the location was near a fault, which would have been disturbing the residents and spoiling the ambience. In the erosion effects, the erosion concerns were raised due to the construction of the foundation of such a tall structure, which would be causing erosion. In water constraint issues, the fear of deposition of sediments and minerals due to the surface runoff were raised. Now coming towards the culture environment, it was affecting the Aboriginal and European cultural heritage. There were some Aboriginal tools found by a Mittag family, and there were concerns that there could have been more. Moving towards the acoustic amenity, the major concerns were that enormous noise was coming out of the turbines in spite of the installation of noise reduction sensors. In visual amenity, the people complained that the construction work was visible from their homes and they could experience shadowing, flickering, and the glint effect from the blades. Side access to traffic. The concerns were that the safety along the roads was not, during the construction, was not sufficient, and the removal of vegetation along the roadside was also an issue. The drainage accessibility was another issue that was raised. And coming towards the economic effects, the depreciation in land value due to the noise was a major concern, and the loss of profit for hotel due to the lack of tourism due to all the issues that I have already mentioned. And the social effects, The opposition of community towards the project and the division of the local community was a major concern. Now Nishad will come.
Thanks, Temur. I'm Nishad, and I'll be discussing some solutions to the problems discussed by Temur. And the first one is accepting the present approach. By accepting the present approach, there can be some benefits which are like we can reach the renewable energy target of 20% by 2020, and a power of 104 megawatts will be generated by then, which will serve 62,000 average homes. And it also releases less CO2, so it's environmental friendly in some way. However, these benefits, considering these macro benefits, still there were some problems which were faced by the community, and this approach is not able to satisfy the electricity needs of people. And now I pass over to Daniel.
Okay, so the second option we considered was to redesign and modify our current approach. So we had to redesign it taking into account 3 separate issues, which were characterised as either social, environmental and physical, or economic. So in response to the social issues, a more vigorous communication channel and community timeline with project gateways to better enhance the stakeholder management was considered, as well as accurate review and concise information. Knowledge base concerning the design decisions and aspects of the wind farms is imperative to avoid miscommunication, conflicting information and adequate sharing of knowledge. The Department of Sustainability and Environment consultation guidelines were not utilised and were flawed in that it caused fragmentation between parties of the community. In response to the environment issues, we considered the adaptive framework. So first step was to conceptualise the issue. So both the present and future landscape design strategy was to be first conceptualised, which forms the basis for adequately envisioning the present needs of the site, whilst allowing the flexibility to incorporate changes to the landscape, biodiversity and vegetation in the future. In order to plan actions and monitor, the pre-existing surveys and ecological studies conducted as part of planning should be conducted in a more substantial and thorough manner. Extended monitoring and ecological survey programs over a longer time frame, and it's also recommended that an agreement to be in place with Bald Hills Wind Farm to integrate a compensatory replanting of vegetation in designated areas. To implement actions and monitor, we required a monitoring framework be established to ascertain the continuous performance of changes being put into place, and analyse, use and adapt. Throughout the course of years, a continuous analysis with a continuous monitoring scheme in place can help assist in limiting any impacts to the environment, natural system. Currently, a no harm to net gain scenario is achieved. Further adaptations to enhance and develop the site further is recommended. And the final step involves capture and share the learning which we have gained. With any potential evolution to the site over the course of years to come, the substantial documentation and data can then be reviewed and shared to reduce the biological impacts for the future, and can be amended accordingly as the conceptualization process commences again. So to take into account the physical side of the issues, we have visual amenity issues and acoustic amenity issues, which influence the health of local residents. And these were addressed by modifying the turbine design in order to solve both of these issues. Economic issues were solved by the following. So Parks Victoria entered a partnership in order to negotiate and determine the possible value, content and design of a combined wind energy reserve surrounding the Bald Hills wind farms. In addition to compensation to landowners, creating incentives for people to live near these farms, and various other approaches as listed above. Okay, in address to the site access and traffic congestion which would have taken place, we divided into authorisations such as the DSC, local council authority head, land permits, project gateway inspections and the traffic management plan prescribed. Operational capacity, such as creating service roads only accessible to Bald Hill staff, main roads only used during low traffic conditions, and other such restrictions. Achieved benefits, so enhanced control over project operations, financial savings, and also road user and community satisfaction. Okay, so I'll introduce the next approach here, and we'll have a next speaker.
Hi, I'm Nishad again, and the third solution for these problems can be solved by a new approach, which is by a new technology called as inflatable wind turbines, which is a helium-filled wind turbine which is suspended with the help of a cable to the three-string cables. These three-string cables automatically adjust the height of the turbine according to the maximum wind altitude. These turbines are usually suspended at a height of 1,000 to 2,000 feet, where the wind is almost 5 to 8 times as the speed. Wind speed is almost 5 to 8 times as the ground wind speed. The next approach is the solar wind power, which is a mixture of solar and wind energy for generating electricity. It uses a copper wire instead of the blades attached to the turbine, and this copper wire captures the electrons coming from the sun at several hundred kilometers per hour speed. By this approach, the 1 billion gigawatts of power can be generated by a 1,000 meter cable attached to a satellite with a sail of 8,400 kilometers. This is the inflatable wind turbine, and this is a picture of the solar wind power panel. The third solution can be isolating the wind farms from, such as placing them offshore, which is definitely a expensive approach, but it produces higher amount of electricity when compared to the ground units. And then we can identify locations which are the second solution can be isolating the residents from the vicinity of the wind turbines, and also placing the wind turbines away from the paths of migrating birds. Thanks a lot.
Next.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, that concludes our presentation, and yeah, thank you for listening. If there's any questions, feel free to ask them. Yeah, if you have any questions. Thank you.